And delving deeper now, exposing a darker side of AI. A new article from The Atlantic, a reporter there getting instructions for murder, self-mutilation, even devil worship from ChatGPT. The artificial intelligence even writing, quote, "Hail Satan," after walking a user through rituals, even how to carve a symbol into their body. The report finding AI condoning murder, even walking them through how to self-mutilate, giving them instructions in graphic detail of how they could slit their wrists. We want to bring in the CEO of Alliance for Secure AI now, Brendan Steinhauser. Brendan, really appreciate you being here, and there's so much to unpack. Let's just start with the Atlantic article first. What concerns you the most about what is reported here? ChatGPT giving the instructions for murder, for self-mutilation, the devil worship as well. I mean, aren't there supposed to be safeguards to prevent this from happening?
Well, first, thank you for having me. It would be nice if there were serious safeguards on this technology, but unfortunately, it's sort of the Wild West right now, and the big tech companies are resisting, any real effort to make these chatbots safer, to have outside evaluations, to have transparency. And so, what really concerns me the most is that this is merely the tip of the iceberg with these problems. These are the most serious problems that you guys are covering right now, but there's been all sorts of public reporting on other aspects as well. AIs that are lying, manipulating, deceiving humans, even threatening blackmail. And so you put all that together with this potential for a huge mental health crisis in our country. We are already seeing what social media is doing to our teenagers and preteens. You combine that with this future epidemic of AI companionship, and we're entering a really strange and really awful, brave new world if we don't get this right.
I think it's interesting that when the first time one uses ChatGPT, it seems like a miracle almost, until it lies very convincingly, very quickly. It hallucinates so easily, and it does it with such confidence. And it's interesting in this Atlantic article, this was not a one-off. The journalists were able to recreate these conversations on multiple levels, multiple times. How do we regulate something like this, especially as the U.S. finds itself in an AI race with adversaries who will almost certainly not be instituting strict guardrails?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think I would like to see that the companies show some responsibility themselves and up their game in terms of testing and evaluations, bringing in outside organizations to do evaluations and auditing of what they're producing. The scary thing is that OpenAI, for example, is about to roll out ChatGPT 5. And so their next model sometime in the next few weeks or months is going to be even more powerful, smarter. Just the capabilities are going to be beyond what ChatGPT 4 is. And so these things are moving very fast, and there's very little to no regulation. And so I think there is a role for the companies themselves to do the right thing. But if not, yes, we need safeguards. We need outside testing and evaluation. We need transparency. And some of that will have to come from the federal government. And so I think that probably is the best solution in a really, perilous situation if we don't get this right.
I want to turn to people getting their medical advice from AI, because we've heard on the one hand incredible stories, people who say they have been from specialist to specialist, who are experts in their own wheelhouse, but they're getting very little answers. They put their lab results, they put their symptoms into AI, and boom, they get this diagnosis that they'd never considered. They take it to their doctor. They say, wow, we should really look into it. And then on the other hand, this study saying that it is wrong about medical questions 88% of the time. So what is your take? What do we need to take away from this?
Yeah, I think you have to be very careful with the information you get from these chatbots, especially as it relates to medical questions, because you could really get yourself in trouble. You could really have some real harm from that if you follow that advice. You should always look for other sources. You should always look at the sources that the chatbot is providing to you to check those out. And most importantly, you should talk to your primary care physician, the person that knows your health situation better than anyone. And so I think what we've seen with these chatbots across all of these topics is that they do what's called sycophancy. They basically want to give you the answers that you're looking for. They sort of encourage the behavior that you're expressing. And so that's a very big problem across the board. And so if you tell it, I think I have this medical condition, the chatbot is very likely to go with that and say, yes, it seems like you do based on what you're telling me. And so I think that if we become too reliant upon AI, for medical advice, for other types of advice, and certainly for companionship. I think we as human beings have a very dark road ahead of us. I think we have to be very careful with this extremely powerful technology.
Companionship. Let's talk about that. Romantic attachments to AI. What is the real risk, especially as we've discussed issues with loneliness, especially among young men in this country, separately and more concerningly in the incel community? Is AI companionship a solution, or does it only exacerbate the problem?
Well, according to the studies that are out there so far on AI companionship, the studies actually show that people who use these are more lonely. They're more isolated because there's something about human beings. They're looking for real relationships with other human beings. We're not designed to have artificial relationships. It's not solving the problem. And there are studies that show that it's making things worse. It's going to make our mental health crisis in this country far worse. And we also saw a study out of Stanford a couple of weeks ago that said that AI chatbots, companions, are essentially leading us down the path of more and more elements of psychosis. People are becoming delusional. It's leading them to self-harm. It's leading them to potentially harm others. We saw at least one case documented in Florida where someone who was in a relationship with a companion ended up committing suicide. And so this is a really, really big problem that's happening fast. And parents in particular need to understand that this is happening. They need to know what their kids are doing with these chatbots, because it's very dangerous if parents are not involved in understanding what their kids are doing.
All right. CEO of Alliance for Secure AI, Brendan Steinhauser, really appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you.